Welcome to Wiki Bros. I'm Justin,
And this is Kyle.
and this is a show with a couple of guys exploring various Wikipedia articles.
So, did you see this crazy stuff over in Indianapolis?
The murders?
No. This was related to a fertility doctor, actually.
Oh yeah. I saw a Netflix thing on it.
Oh, really? I didn't realize they had one on Netflix. I'll have
Yeah.
to check that out. For those of you that haven't seen it, or if you want to know more about it, you can look on Netflix. Apparently, did you watch the whole documentary?
I think I fell asleep.
Okay.
A few times.
Show us how great it is.
No, that's not the case. I just have a very hard time staying awake when I'm watching TV.
In general,
It doesn't matter.
you
what
become
it
like a
is.
90-year-old woman.
Yeah, my wife hates it because whenever we go to watch a movie, I fall asleep regardless.
I found I'm fine as long as I keep the lights on. Like, it's the second I shut the lights off when I'm watching a movie, I'm just like, especially if it's late at night, I just start slumping down.
Right. Yep.
But anyway, so for those that haven't read on about this, it's the doctor's name was Donald Klein, and basically what happened was this guy fathered like hundreds of kids in the Indianapolis area by replacing what the clients thought were donor sperm, which technically they were.
Yeah, he
It was
donated
his donations. And he was literally throwing away the external donations that they were getting and giving everybody the same donation from him.
Yeah.
This came out, I don't know how far you got into the documentary, but it basically came out that some of these kids found out that they were related through various awkward encounters, I guess would be the way.
Oh, like they were.
I think I think in one case, I'd have to go back and reread the article, but I want to say like maybe like two of them might have been dating.
Yeah.
Very, very disturbing
Well, he's
situations.
got how many kids did it say that he ended up having?
Oh,
Did
God.
they know?
There were 94, I believe, in total fathered offspring. And this is literally all in the same area.
How many years though was this? Was this like a 30-year span, or do you know?
What was the years? It looks like it was between 1974 and 1987.
Oh,
So I mean, these people were fairly
they could
older.
be spaced apart.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, it depends. I mean, if you're doing, man, I still 100 kids in the same area, like that close together.
Yeah.
And the crazy part was he had no legal implications whatsoever for this because there's not like tight laws about this kind of stuff. It's like he technically did
no
supply.
shit.
He got no charges for this.
Really?
Yeah, I'll have to go back through and read back to the article, and maybe if somebody on here would have finished the the documentary and not fallen asleep.
Oh,
but
I just
we don't.
assumed that there was some sort of prison term for this.
No, he got nothing.
Wow.
They tried going after him for fraud.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, he really had no penalties. It was kind of frightening, to be honest, that he got away with this.
So
I think he might have paid a civil settlement out of pocket, which I'm sure he had insurance to cover that kind of stuff. But I don't think he was given any actual criminal charges.
Wow.
How
long ago was it that they found out about it?
Oh, this happened back in
I mean, it seems like it was
2015, maybe.
okay.
I don't know how I missed this when it happened, but like it popped back up, and I'm assuming because of the documentary, it must have popped back up in the news. But I saw a news article about this recently. But basically, the excuse that the attorney general gave for this was that there was technically no law forbidding his conduct because this had never happened before or had never been caught before. Not stating that this hasn't happened in other fertility doctor cases, but it ended up settling that I think once the civil suit was done. Actually, that's what brought this back up. Go ahead.
This wasn't. This wasn't. All right. It wasn't just like women coming in requesting a donor. This was fathers who gave the sperm, for the in vitro with the wife, right? Wasn't that what it was? So the fathers weren't actually the biological fathers of their kids at all when they were expecting that they were.
That I would have to go back and obviously I need to reread the article. I didn't get it didn't go into like the article was a short one. It was focused more on I believe it was the civil lawsuit that what popped up, so I didn't go into the details with it. But I'll have to watch a documentary and see.
Yeah, that's a lot worse though.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not like they were just going in like wanting a baby and they didn't have a guy to impregnate them. They and so they wanted random sperm
Think
or the
about
sperm that
think
they
about
chose, right? Because they give them like books or something on what
right,
the
right.
people look like or something. But these were, I thought that was the case, that it was like people who were having couples who were having problems conceiving went to this guy, and then he replaced the father's sperm with his sperm.
That's even worse. If that was the case in this situation, that's 10 times worse because
Yeah.
for well, why would I'm sorry, why would the father that wouldn't make any sense to me.
What do you mean?
Oh, okay, so why would the fathers be going in to get?
They were having
Are they
problems.
doing like in vitro?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, so this was. Oh, that's man. That is so much worse.
yep.
I mean, because in that situation, it's like, can you imagine the problems that could have caused some of these relationships if they found out later the fact? Like, if the guy thought the woman had cheated on him or something in
Oh
that
yeah, yeah, yeah,
situation,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
kid comes out blonde hair, blue eyes, and they're both
I think though, if they, well, I don't know. I mean, possibly. I
the
guess
the
that's
DNA testing would come back that it's not the father's.
no. I get that. I was just thinking if they were having problems conceiving to begin with, and then they did this, which I think that's probably how it came about anyway,
Right.
because of a 23andMe deal or something like that, and they're like,
Oh,
your
somebody did like
father's
a
not
DNA
your
test.
father, and
That's messed up.
yeah.
We're gonna watch a documentary. I'm kind of interested on that now.
Well, I'm gonna go to sleep.
Okay, well, I'll attempt to. Anyway, this was brought back from the civil lawsuit is what actually prompted this to pop back up because it was resolved in May of 2022, and he ended up having to pay out 1.3 million to
How many people?
I mean it was a like a almost borderline class action lawsuit
Okay,
against
yeah,
him. It was
gotcha.
like it was all the
So
donors and the donor children and the families like all banded together to sue this guy. So I'm
right.
sure they just split it up
So
between
after
them.
the lawyers took their cut, then
They got like 50 grand a piece probably.
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking 100 people at 1.3 million. You figure minimum, what's that? Half that's probably going to the legal fees and the
Right.
lawyers. You split that, maybe you're getting 20 grand a piece.
Mm.
Help pay for college, maybe I guess. I mean,
Well,
but most of these people are older, so
right. Yeah.
they're just
Crazy.
nothing to find this out. Anyway, the reason I brought this up was because it was kind of tied to your local criminal
Article that we got
article
here.
event that you
Yeah.
pulled up today. So I'll let you kind of dive into it because
Yeah.
it's
So what we did today, and I really don't like to get too local on our stuff.
yeah,
Um,
feelings can get hurt with people if you end up knowing some of the people.
Right. But we're doing it today. So we're discussing Orville Lynn Majors. He was, I don't know if you remember this, he was a nurse at the hospital in Clinton.
And that's down by Terre Haute, Indiana.
Right.
Very close.
Right. So the Vermillion County Hospital there.
Right.
And this was back in between 93 and 95.
Oh, okay. That's why I don't remember this.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know why I remember it, but anyway, the dude ended up like killing a lot of people. A lot of people.
Now, how was the?
So
this was at a hospital, right?
It was at the hospital, and he was a LPN,
Okay.
and it was basically like they were all elderly people.
Okay.
All right, and he was, I guess, possibly injecting them with potassium.
Oh, so he was trying to cause heart attacks.
Yeah, and the thing is I had kind of been under the understanding in the past. Now, reading this, there's no indication of it whatsoever. But in the past, I was kind of under the understanding that he was doing like mercy killings.
Oh, like someone asking
Yeah,
to end their life.
Right.
Oh,
like
who was the guy?
Kevorkian.
Kevorkian, yeah.
Right. So that's what I had kind of understood was the case, that he was doing it to relieve their pain, put them out of their misery type of thing.
Okay.
But maybe that's not the case at all. And I don't know why I would have been under that impression.
I mean, did he kill mostly elderly?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were all elderly people.
Okay.
But as I read the article on this, it makes no mention of that at all. It's actually the only thing it really talks about is his, and of course, I don't know how much faith to put into the statement in here, but he basically I don't know what they said, but he despised the elderly or something like
Oh,
that. But
jeez.
yeah,
Who hates old people?
I
They're
don't.
always so nice.
Right, and I don't. I don't know that I buy that, but I mean, it says that when he was born in '61, right?
Okay.
And he, as a teenager, he took care of his elderly grandma, and that's what led him to go into nursing to begin with.
Well, that seems like you would enjoy that, not
Exactly.
despise it.
So that's why I don't know. I guess why I'm still kind of hanging to the thought that maybe he was trying to do mercy killings.
Or maybe in his own mind he thought he was doing mercy
Exactly.
killings.
That's what I'm
like,
saying. Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah. Not that it. I mean, because some of these people, I think, actually, I mean, there's nothing majorly wrong with them.
Right.
But I think in his, warped, fucked up mind, that's what he was doing. I think, but who knows?
It's all speculation, I
Maybe
suppose.
he did.
I mean, did he comment on anything like this?
Not that I've seen. I'm sure he did, but I haven't seen anything on it.
And where did you get the mercy killing thing from?
I don't know.
Is this something you just remember from when you were younger?
From when I was younger.
Okay.
So I really don't know. But it says his victims, there were between 6 and 130. So
That's a wide margin there.
right.
Is it they just couldn't confirm
They can't confirm. They can't confirm them, but I'm going to give you some stats here. It said that suspicion developed when the death rate at the hospital jumped significantly after Majors had returned to Indiana. See, what happened was he graduated from Nashville Memorial School of Practical Nursing in 1989.
Okay.
Okay. He took a job at that hospital, at the Vermillion County Hospital. But then he briefly took a higher paying job in Tennessee.
Did anybody die in Tennessee?
I don't know.
You would think they'd would have checked into that.
Yes, I think they probably did, but I don't have any information on it. So I don't know if you can find anything on it or not, but I didn't dive into it. I just know that when he returned to Vermillion County Hospital in '93, that's when their death rates jumped significantly, right? It said the year before his return to VCH, an average of around 26 patients died annually at the 56-bed hospital and 4-bed intensive care unit, right? Because it's not a major hospital. It's a small county hospital. Okay?
Right.
But after he started working at the facility, the rate skyrocketed to more than 100 per year, with nearly
wow.
1 out of every 3 patients admitted to the hospital dying. How about that?
Wow.
So that's why they have this huge range of 6 to 130, because for sure he was convicted of 6.
Right. But there's very the likelihood that the others are related is very, very possible.
Yep.
Just to add a little background to your previous comments about why you thought this might be like mercy killings, just kind of put that in the ground.
Okay.
His nickname that he was given in the media was the Angel of Death.
Yeah.
But more so, it was stated that his former roommate, Andy Harris, testified on the stand that Majors had sometimes said old people should be gassed.
Oh, yeah. See, I read that too. And that's where I was like, this was his roommate, right?
Yeah, his former roommate.
I don't hold a lot of stake in what roommates have to say, or roommates or neighbors.
I mean, it could have been a bad roommate. Maybe he didn't, maybe he ate his grapes.
It's the roommates and the neighbors that say stuff because they just want to be in front of the camera.
Well, and yeah, that does
they
that
give
does
their
roll
2
into it.
cents onto it, and even though it means nothing, I don't.
I mean, most situations like that, it's mostly hearsay, right? I mean, it's just things that they claim to have witnessed but have no evidence of, other than them hearing it.
Yeah. Oh, I heard this. Put me on the news.
Right.
Fuck out of here. He may have. I'm not.
I mean, like you stated though, like it doesn't. The stories don't necessarily line up. For him to take care of his grandma for that long and then claim that the reason he went into the medical field was to because he enjoyed that doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
Unless he absolutely hated taking care of his grandma.
Oh, that could have been it. And that's why he went into the medical field. Because he
Like,
wanted
get
to,
revenge on old people?
I
Like, I don't
guess.
know.
Yeah, but nobody really hates old people, do
No,
they?
I wouldn't think.
Like, I don't think
I
you
mean,
got to be a sadistic motherfucker to hate old people.
like an
Old
an
people are the
LPN
best.
work is not like the most fun work. It's like
Right.
a level up from CNA work.
And but it's still something that you do because you want to help people.
I would feel like most of the people that are in the medical profession are like that, like
Right.
who like especially like some you starting out. Most people start out like as a CNA, whether they're going to school and then work their way up to
Right.
LPN and then
Right.
get their RN license. It like gradually gets a little easier as far as your duties as you go up, or they become more complicated, I should say. Like, the CNAs do like the cleanings and the bathings and stuff like that. Which that's like tedious work. Like nobody wants to like clean
No.
up after somebody, especially elderly. So it's like you have to actually care
Especially
about
elderly.
these people.
Nobody wants to clean up after people.
No, I'm saying like a lot of these people when they get to that age when they are in the nursing homes, like they're
They
incapable.
can't control
Yeah,
their
and they're
bowels
having accidents
right.
all the time. Like it's not a fun thing. Like we've all had
Yep.
grandmothers and great grandparents and stuff like that who you've witnessed that with. So it's like it's a rough job, but
Right. So yeah, so that's why I think that he was doing it out of mercy in his own mind.
man,
Mercy,
I don't know.
not
I don't know.
actual mercy, right? Because, like I say, a lot of these people were perfectly fine. I mean, they had minor issues.
Well, and that's
were
that's
just
what makes me think it wasn't a mercy killing. Like if they didn't have any major health issues, why would they be asking him
Well,
to put them down?
No. I don't think it. I don't necessarily think that they asked him. I think that he just did it.
Okay. Like you're like
Because-
rationalizing, you're old, you just need to. Okay, well maybe that does line up with his "they need to be gassed" comment because he
Right.
thinks anybody old needs to be put down.
Yeah, maybe. Heck, I don't know. But it said that so we're at the point where they've skyrocketed right to more than 100 deaths per year at this hospital.
Okay.
And it said the circumstances of the deaths raised eyebrows, even though most of them were elderly. Some died from an erratic heartbeat after respiratory arrest, the reverse of the normal pattern. Others died from conditions that they had not had when they were admitted or took a sharp downturn, although they had otherwise been healthy. All right, so obviously something's going on here.
Right.
So now they're kind of wondering about it, right? But the bad thing is that I mean you can get pissed off at people joking about the deaths of other people.
Right.
Okay. You can get pissed off about that, but the reality of the situation is people in the medical field see death all the time.
Yeah.
Like, and they still have to have a little bit of humor in their life, right?
Well,
You
it's
have
like
to. You have to. That's what they, the dark humor.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
it's a coping mechanism.
Sure. And so at one point, his coworkers, they're noticing the correlation of the spike in deaths while he's on duty.
Didn't they even start making jokes about?
Well, that's what they're like kind of joked about, when the next patient was going to die.
Right.
So like, Orville's working today. I wonder how many people are going to die today,
Right.
And
Well, would that be kind of like somebody working at like a factory and every time they go on duty, the same
Something
machine
breaks
breaks
down
and
or
it's like,
something.
oh well,
Right.
Justin's on duty, so what's gonna break tonight?
Right.
Same kind of.
Yep. So, I mean, but it's to the point that, his coworkers are noticing it too.
Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, that many people. I mean, I can, especially with the spikes in the deaths.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible. What was that? Like, didn't they say it was like 25, 26 as what, had died annually there up to over 100?
Yeah. I mean, that's
Right.
it's like what is that, like a 400% jump in a
right.
year?
So,
But the other issue too with these is as well is like, back at this time, what was the time period on this? We read earlier.
93, 95.
The way he was doing this with the potassium injections, especially with the elderly patients, is kind of sneaky because it's one of those things that's It's hard to pin down a smoking gun at this point. Like it's common for them to have heart attacks with elderly. It's like, and then your heart naturally releases potassium during a heart attack, so it kind of covers that up to begin with. So
Yeah.
unless he was witnessed, which I think that's how they initially caught him, was somebody actually saw him injecting something into.
Well, I think I don't think that's what caused the investigation into him. I think that was just after the investigation started,
Oh,
while they're talking with people.
somebody stated they saw him
Yeah,
inject
they
this
saw him,
right before the heart attack.
Yeah, right before their loved one had a heart attack, he had, injected him with something.
Well,
Right.
what prompted the investigation to begin with to be
Well,
pinpointed
okay.
towards him?
So,
I'm assuming they investigated the deaths in correlation with who was working, right?
as I said, that his coworkers had noticed that happens a lot. They don't think he's doing anything wrong. They're just
Right.
all right, but the supervisor, not necessarily the case. She's like, wait a minute, this seems a little off. So she goes through and checks the time cards to see who's on duty during the deaths.
Okay.
All right. She discovers that Majors was on duty for 130 of the 147
Oh,
deaths
wow.
between 1993 and 1995.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure, she's got everybody's,
Right.
list in there. And
He's on duty. He's on duty for 90% of them, if not more.
yeah, insane. So she's, alarmed over this.
Right.
She alerts hospital officials who call the Indiana State Police. And then Majors is suspended during their investigation. And the Indiana State Nursing Board suspended his license for 5 years after it had determined that he exceeded his authority by giving emergency drugs and by working in an ICU without a doctor. And then the hospital fired him, right? So while he's still being investigated for this, they officially fired him.
Right.
Investigators determined that Majors was on duty, or that when he was on duty, there was an average of one death every 23 hours.
Holy cow. He was just like, who's the most annoying person that I'm taking care of tonight, and that's how he just made his decisions.
Dude,
I mean, a death
a day.
a day,
One death
basically?
a day that he works. Every day he's working, basically.
Man.
Well, every 24-hour period that he's working.
Right.
Because I really don't know what the.
I mean,
would
say
assume
they're
on 12s.
Yeah. So
Right.
every 2 days
Every
he's
2
working.
days
He's
he
killing
works.
somebody.
Right. And it didn't matter whether it was weekdays, weekends, whatever. Every 23 hours.
Man.
So when he was off duty, though, the death rate dropped to 1 every 23 days.
Jeez.
So,
yeah.
I mean,
Hard to fight the facts there. Well, the statistics, I guess we should say.
right. It's like, is he trying to get caught, or is he just completely careless?
Well, I mean, look at how many years he did this. I'm sure after a while,
3 years, basically. That's it. I mean, between 1993 and 1995. I mean, it went into 1995, right?
True, but like, okay, so say he started out with like, I'm sure it became like addicting after a while. The first year maybe he only killed like a handful of them and kept getting away with it, and he was like, oh,
Right.
nobody's gonna catch me.
Right.
It's like people stealing money. It's like you start out, so some of these people working at banks or financial institutions, and it's like you just slowly start funneling out more money and getting more greedy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the way you get comfortable with it.
So they said that they determined that a patient at VCH was 40 times more likely to die when Majors was on duty. Now, had only they had this information beforehand, maybe they should start doing that. You go into the hospital and they say, "Here's your chance of dying today."
Right.
Fuck.
Nobody would have wanted to be admitted when he was working.
Man, that's crazy. But he, adamantly denied doing anything wrong. Of course he did.
Oh, of course.
Right. So anyway, he basically, the dude, he's been fired from his job now and everything. He's still being investigated, right? But he gets a lawyer and he makes the rounds on all the talk shows proclaiming his innocence. There's no getting by this, though, right? I mean, at that many deaths, to
I mean, if you get charged with one,
well, I'm just saying though that there's no way that he's going to beat this at
oh
all.
no, no,
One death out of 20 every 23 hours compared to one death every 23 days when he's
right,
not working.
right.
Uh,
It's just there's too much evidence against you at that
right.
point in time.
So they start, the police start looking into it and investigating, talking to loved ones of people who've died under his care. And that's where they got, that some of them, they witnessed him giving the injections to their loved ones shortly before they died, sometimes before he ever even left the room.
Right.
So,
Just shot into their IV, I'm assuming.
yeah, then they called, I'm going to call it an electrophysiologist.
Okay.
Okay. Somebody who looks at EKGs. And
Okay.
he's really smart about it. Okay. He says there's only three possible explanations to the patterns that they've seen here. Potassium overdose,
Right.
a sudden heart attack, or a large clot in the lung.
Okay.
So, with that in mind, in September of 95, the state officials began exhuming 15 patients who had been witnessed getting injections and had widening heart problems or widening heart patterns around the time that they died, right?
Okay.
None of the bodies had signs of a heart attack or clotting in the lung. So that proves
Only
that
leaves the
it's-
one option.
Right. And then this is when your former roommate gets involved.
Right.
He recalled seeing potassium chloride and epi vials in the house.
Oh, so it even it was even worse than he wants
Yeah.
to gas old people.
So this one I'm gonna go with. This roommate's not just saying, "Well, he said this." The roommate's actually saying, "Yo, dude, I've seen these vials here." So police get a search warrant and they discover numerous vials that could be traced back to the hospital.
Oh, okay. So he was sneaking this stuff out to
Right.
use.
So they
Which okay, let's just talk about that for a second.
yes. How do you get?
Now,
Okay.
it is incredibly easy apparently to take stuff out of the hospital because they apparently don't keep very good track of their inventory.
Exactly. Or hear me out.
Okay.
When you get we'll say a Tylenol
Okay.
from the hospital,
Yeah.
and you get charged like $24 for that Tylenol.
Right.
Do you think that they really just like issue out like a bottle of Tylenol, and then you get one, and then they just toss the rest?
No.
That way they can continue to buy more from these drug manufacturers.
Well, they get
keep them in business, and it's all being charged to you, so it doesn't matter. You think that's what's going on here? So when they get a vial of potassium or whatever, and I know
okay.
from
so,
experience, I'll just say this: like we have water bottles, okay, little tiny water bottles like saline and okay.
Okay.
Once you break the seal on that, you may only use it, like put a little bit on a cloth, and you still have 95% of that bottle remaining. You can't use it anymore.
Right.
Right? So I'm assuming that these vials that are the same situation, right? So once they check them out, they can't use them, right? From the pharmacy or whatever there at the hospital, they can't use them anymore. So they should be disposed of.
I can't imagine that they would do it that way. With the hospitals, I would imagine that you can get individual packs of medicine, and especially with COVID and everything hitting these days. But even then, a lot of the stuff that happens in the hospitals that I've seen, and I have a lot of family that's been in the medical field and has seen this. But it's like you take something like IVs, okay? Just a saline solution, right? There's expiration dates on a lot of the medications,
right.
So when they get done with those, they just dispose of them. It is extremely easy to just not throw them in the trash can and take them home with you.
Right. Yep.
There's no regulations to check out that they've gotten disposed. They have no. It's just they sign it off on the sheet. This is gone. go throw it in the trash, and that's the extent of it. Like, there's nothing that verifies whether or not it got disposed of.
Right.
And as of I know, to this day, they still don't track that very heavily. Now, I'm sure they do with more like the narcotics and stuff like that that's
Sure.
more dangerous.
Right.
But for something, back then, maybe potassium was an easy thing to get. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. That's interesting. And on to that, why does so much of this stuff have expiration dates on it?
well, it's just like even like say like
Yes. Why?
it's water and
Why?
salt, like
So that these
so they can sell more, so they can sell more,
manufacturers
and they
get more
we
money
still get billed for it.
Yep, absolutely. It's ridiculous. My little rant. So anyway, after a 2-year investigation, Majors was arrested in December of 1997 and charged with 7 murders. Investigators believed he killed 100 to 130 people.
Man.
However, prosecutors chose to focus on only 7 to avoid overwhelming the jury.
Well, I mean, at that point, even with 7, if you can convince the jury that he did 1,
Right.
the likelihood that they're going to tack on the other 6 is.
I mean,
If you can show enough evidence.
So that's what I was saying. My guess is that this isn't. It's not like the jury's like, oh my, there's
Right.
so many.
Right.
They have to present a case for all of these
Right.
people, right? So otherwise, they would be on. He would be on trial for 3 years while they gave all of the evidence on every individual person.
Well, and they may not even have a lot of evidence on the other individual people.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
okay because like I read one place they said that they exhumed some of the bodies to see
Well, 15,
for testing. The other ones are probably they couldn't
Past
do that
the
with
point.
right.
Yeah,
They
right.
just have it notated in the system that he was on duty and that these people died of a heart attack.
Right. So it said a total of 79 witnesses were called to the stand at his trial in 1999. Some of the witnesses, here we go, testified that he hated elderly
Nope, here
people
we go.
and that they believed that they should be gassed. He believed that they should be gassed.
Oh, so it was more than just his roommate that said this?
No, his roommate actually didn't say that. His roommate, maybe his roommate did, but from what I read in here anyway, his roommate just said, "Hey, he's got vials of epi and potassium chloride here." It was just other witnesses that said that.
That's interesting. The other article that I read from the Indy Star stated specifically that his roommate had testified that old people should be gassed, but it didn't say anything about him stating that
That
he had vials in there. So that might
Yeah.
just be a very
Who knows?
reporting issues.
Either way, somebody said that, and they probably are full of shit. But we'll see.
I mean, at this point with the vials in his
doesn't
home,
matter.
I'd say that it's a pretty well smoking gun situation.
And keep
right
in
there.
mind, I'm not defending this motherfucker.
Right?
I'm just saying that roommates and neighbors should not be allowed to talk to the media.
Do you ever have a roommate that you still get along with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Would they testify against you?
Hell no.
See?
I did nothing wrong. They saw nothing.
So maybe this guy was just an asshole.
Yeah. He was convicted on October 17th.
I'm sure this is a ridiculous amount of years they sentenced him with.
Well, they got him for 6 murders of the 7.
Okay. What got away with the 7th?
Well, so the jury deadlocked on that one because that victim took longer to die than the others.
Okay.
I don't know what the time frame was, but it sounds like it wasn't something that happened within a day or so.
Okay.
So they deadlocked on that one. So he got convicted of the 6.
Right.
He's sentenced to consecutive terms of 60 years for each case. Because at the time, under Indiana law, that was the maximum possible penalty.
60 years.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they do that.
I
Like,
don't
why don't if
understand.
you're gonna get to that extent, just call it life in prison.
Right.
Like, why the
I'm-
360 years?
Yeah.
I think it's just ridiculous.
I think that they do that for parole options in the future.
What parole options should you have with
Well, you
360?
shouldn't have anything, but I'm saying that later on he can try it, try and get released. And if they look at it and be like, dude, you're set for, what was it? 360 years total. and you've only served 15.
I mean, how old was he at this time? So this was, so let's say 2000. He was born in
Well,
61, so he's
uh, so
39.
well, let's see. It says that he, man,
Or he'll be 38 in 1999, but
well,
39 in
he
2000.
graduated. I don't know how old he was. Born in 61. I
Right.
guess.
So 39.
Yeah. So he was, well, when this first started happening was 93.
Right.
Oh, you're
I'm
talking
saying
about
the time
when
he got
he's-
sentenced.
Oh, yeah.
It was like
Okay.
99 to 2000 he
Yeah.
got sentenced.
Yeah. So he's basically 40 years old.
So I mean, at this point,
He's got 45 years in him.
I mean, depending on his
the
condition.
160-year sentence is going to do him.
Right. Like that's gonna be it. Like you're done.
Yep. But whatever.
But he didn't even make it that long.
No. Good. And say good. Sorry. But he got 60 years for 6 people. If they had the actual number of people,
Oh
if-
jeez. What would you say? 130?
100 to 130, so like
Yeah.
600 years.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
Anyway, the presiding judge described Major's crimes as diabolical acts and a parallel of evil at its most wicked. And he concluded that the maximum sentence is the minimum sentence in this case.
Right.
Good for him.
You know the ironic thing in this entire situation is in 2017 he ends up dying in prison of a heart attack.
Yep.
Which, if that's not poetic justice, I don't know what is. But
Yeah. I think that's pretty interesting, and it kind of makes you wonder: do they need to look? He was at Indiana State Prison in Michigan City at the time.
right. So in 57,
Sure. I don't know where.
2017,
Yeah.
57, 58.
56, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, it kind of makes you wonder if they need to look into what happened to him
if
at
he was
prison.
injected, because that's pretty young, 56. I mean, I remember my dad when he had his first heart attack. He was 55.
Oh, no shit.
He was, but his was not. His was due to like an irregular formation of one of his arteries. He had like
Oh, so it wasn't like necessarily like a plaque buildup? in the
no.
artery? It
Well,
was-
it partially. So what his issue was, and he had it since birth, and he was just never aware of it. His 2 arteries, one of the arteries in his heart, had grown and had stopped like here, and then his body decided to not finish that, and they made like its own stent that jumped around that was literally half the size of his artery, and he had gotten away with it for so long, and that little stent got clogged, and that's what caused his heart attack. And they literally went in and just reconnected his main artery and got rid of that stent spot. And he's had, other than a couple, he takes nitro and stuff, but other than that, he's really had no issues since. And now my dad's 82 this year.
But the point is that, generally speaking, that's relatively young
Yeah.
to be dying of a heart failure.
I mean, I can only think of maybe, you see the one-offs. Like we've had friends,
Right.
die at young ages like that too. But sometimes that's just health problems from when you were younger that you never
Either
found
way, I don't think that the world is really going to miss this cat.
out. No.
I mean,
I hate to
sure-
say it, but like if he got injected in prison, he probably had it coming.
Right. But again, and I'm not necessarily trying to play devil's advocate here, but I believe that probably in his mind he was doing what he thought was best for these people. And that's
True. Okay,
That's
so he
purely
has
based
mental
on-
health issues then.
and that's purely based on what I remember as a child. Where that came from, I don't know. But that's
Maybe you were-
ingrained in my head that this guy was doing this mercifully
right.
in his own mind.
Maybe you saw like an article or a news story. I don't know. But I mean, you look at this like we talked about earlier, the Kevorkian situation.
Right.
Like that guy was.
But
given
that guy had people come to him.
Right. And he's like he's doing it voluntarily, but like it's people that want to die. So
Right.
it's like Okay, well, I can see that being more of a I'm helping you situation than hey, I'm gonna poison you because
Right.
I think just because you're old you need to die.
You're right. Right. So anyway, that's our little local entry into Wikipedia. Orville Lynn Majors. I'd kind of forgotten about him, to be
Yeah.
honest. I don't even know what made me think of this to look into this for today's episode. I don't remember, but it's been a while, so
Hmm. It's kind
yeah,
of neat to see some local news articles pop up.
right. So anyway, that's the case. Glad to get back into a normal one after our news session we had. That was fun,
It was.
you know.
We'll have to do a few more of those.
Yeah, but anyway, uh, remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the like button, man. Subscribe. Do the same thing on our podcast services. Again, they're everywhere. Anywhere you can think of getting a podcast, it's probably there. I believe.
And you put a lot of work into these.
Come on,
You
man.
really do. Like, give this man a like, please. Like, spends
Uh,
hours doing editing after on these.
so anyway, check us out on all those locations along with TikTok. You can look at Instagram. Nobody looks at Instagram, but it's there. TikTok's where it's generally at. And
I feel like everybody's just using TikTok now.
they are for right now until the government shuts them down. It's back up again with them, this. And I get it. It's just so addictive. I can't stop. Like, I know China's taking all of my information. I just can't stop. Damn it. So anyway,
ridiculous.
check us out there for Wiki Bros. I'm Justin,
This is Kyle.
and we'll see you soon.